Welcome to Conversate, our podcast where we engage in conversation. And on this week's episode, Aaron, and Kevin are talking about being peacemakers. That doesn't mean breaking things into pieces and destroying things. It actually means bringing things back together that are broken and making peace. Just as we have been made at peace with our God, so too God calls us as his children to go and be peacemakers. So this conversation is all about peace. If you're looking for it, striving for it, well, we're going to talk about it today. As always, we hope you enjoy it. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Aaron.
How are you?
Pensive.
Oh boy, like Dumbledore.
Oh, that's the pensive, right?
Yeah. How do you pronounce? Don't you pronounce it pensive?
Well, I think if you're reading the books, it would look just like pensive. Yeah. But in the movies,
they call
it pensive. Or something like
he's
that.
looking into it.
Who knows? How to make it sound fancy.
I feel like when I was reading those books, I got to that word, and I was like, I don't know if I know this word, but like how it was spelled, because I don't know if I've never like written that word before. But
is it Pensive?
Sieve, I think.
Really? Okay. Because a sieve would be spelled that way, right? Which I don't really know what a sieve is.
A sieve?
Is that...
A sieve is like another word for like a colander.
Yeah.
You know how I learned that?
How'd you learn that?
Was going to the Michigan Tech hockey games, and the fans will chant at the opposing goalie, "Sieve, sieve, sieve, sieve." Like if he's letting scoring goals and stuff.
Through, sure, like a calendar lets things through. Nice.
Yes. There we go. Wow.
No, man. Well, now I know how to pronounce sieve.
Well, that's how they do it here. Anyways. Yeah. So there you go. Now we've either made each other smarter or dumber. I don't know.
It's a thin line.
Yeah.
In this life. Man.
Well, yeah. I'm glad to be back on the brown couch.
Oh yeah.
I know I was here a couple weeks ago. Last week we took it off. Both you and I were running in different directions and just a lot of things going on. But yeah, I've been kind of all over the place this month of August, and so it's been neat for you to host some different folks here on the podcast, and that's been fun to see and to hear from members of the church. And I think we'll probably be trying to do that more over the next coming months, just to bring in some additional voices and hear people's stories and how God's been affecting them. Like that's really, really neat to hear. But for today, you still get just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
Could make it if we try. You and I. That's it. All right.
I only know the one line.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's about what I know. Yeah. So, I mean, throughout August, I was traveling a variety of different places. I went at the beginning of the month. I was in Minnesota for my dad's 40th celebration of his ordination, and then a couple of weeks back I was at Camp Luther as guest pastor there, which is a fun gig where I get to be with the family campers who are there and do a Bible study. And so we did a Bible study on Psalm 46 actually. And I was actually thinking about Psalm 46 when I was preparing the sermon for this last Sunday. So I preached on the Beatitude, Matthew 5:9, where Jesus says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God." Because when I did this Bible study on Psalm 46, which if you're not familiar with, that starts with God is my refuge and strength and ever-present help in times of trouble. And then it goes into like basically if the mountains be thrown into the heart of the sea, though the waters roar and foam, it's this image of chaos and God being our refuge. And then it ends with those famous words, "Be still and know that I am God." Right? So we had this whole conversation in that Bible study about what does a refuge look like. And so in the Bible study, I would have people on. We did it in a couple of different sections, like draw pictures of what does a refuge look like to you. What would you
If I was to answer that?
Yeah, or to draw a picture. Like, can you?
Well, I'm horrible at drawing pictures.
Well,
but
so am I. I can see it, and then my hand starts going, and I'm like, that's not.
Not at all. Yeah, exactly. I was like, how do you make things look real?
Yeah.
But the image that comes to mind for me is maybe one of like being on the water, big storm, waves lapping, dark stormy clouds kind of a thing, and then like a sea cave or something.
Okay.
So it's like inside the cave, sheltered from the wind, it's water, still as you go further into the cave kind of a thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually like on the cover of this Bible study. I found a picture, and it was a lighthouse, and so there's this the same deal, this big rocky lighthouse, and so there's a man standing like facing towards the camera, out on like this observation deck thing, and just this torrent of white water like all around.
Yeah.
And he's just standing there like looking out because he's on that whatever side he's safe there because the waves are crashing in behind and stuff. So, so when I was teaching that Bible study, we had this whole conversation about refuge, and then the last day we transitioned it then to talk about peace actually, and the peace that we have from Jesus. So, like in what I discovered in my in my research regarding Psalm 46 is that like in the Old Testament, there's the concept of refuge is pretty present in the Old Testament, and refuge is usually in like a military type context. It's like I gotta get away from these worldly these worldly battles that God's people were pretty much always engaged in, and find refuge in God. In the New Testament, though, that the concept of refuge isn't all that present, but we do hear about the peace of Jesus, like Jesus says in John 16. He says, "In the world you will have trouble.
Fear not."
Yeah, exactly. I'm skipping a line. He says, I'm messing up John 14 and John 16, but it's basically peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you, not as the world gives. That's John 14. John 16. He says, "In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I've overcome the world." Okay, so in Jesus we have this peace, even though there's warfare all around us. But then the New Testament also actually talks about like kind of going and engaging in battle, not earthly battle, but like spiritual battle with the armor of God, taking up the sword of the Spirit, and in our missional activity, going into the world and engaging with it, and not fearing tribulation, not fearing suffering, not fearing persecution, as probably we're going to hear about this next week in the Beatitudes. So anyways, long story short, when I was preparing to preach for Sunday, I had Psalm 46 in mind, and I was going to go that direction. And then I changed it. Because what I realized in the Beatitude was what Jesus was saying is not like, it's a different take on peace. So it's like the whole idea of the refuge is like, you're in trouble, you can have refuge in God. You can have peace in Jesus. Jesus is saying in the Beatitude, don't like cloister yourself. You don't need to like just kind of hunker down. No, you actually go and make peace. Go and bring peace to the divisions and to the chaos and to the people that you're in troubled relationships with. Like go and actively like do something with that peace, not just like, oh, I'm scared. Like I need peace.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you're saying this Beatitude of Jesus is like, it's consistent with the whole New Testament in that the idea of refuge is not cloistering in or trying to get away from the troubles, but actually going out. Bringing about refuge for others. Really, it sounds like in some sense.
Yeah. Exactly. So in that Bible study, when we were drawing these pictures on Psalm 46, for myself, my picture actually shifted like from day to day. The first day I drew same kind of deal, like castle-y type thing, and then I'm good, and we shared our pictures, and that was pretty much what everybody did. But I got thinking, I'm like, yeah, but that's not, yes, it's true that each of us have peace. You have peace in Jesus, I have peace in Jesus, but we don't just like duck and cover. So my picture shifted, and like the next day I actually added a door on the front, and I opened it up, and then I drew little people coming in, and I drew like chaos all around, but the door is still open. Like the door is. So I got thinking, I'm like, all right, I have peace in Jesus. Jesus is with me. He's all around me. I'm content in that. Therefore, I can have an open door in this refuge I have, because I don't have to be afraid. Like Jesus has got it, so I don't have to like close the door and be like, come on in, boom, like open up quick. Just be like, this door is open. Come on in, meet Jesus here, and I want to. And then I drew wheels on my refuge, on my like brick castle.
Became mobile.
Yeah, so it's this mobile refuge with an open door. And I don't know.
Sounds like a vision of Ezekiel or something. There's always like things on wheels.
Wheels upon wheels.
Yeah, they're moving in all four directions of the winds.
Yeah. So in the beatitude of Jesus, and I think what we understand from Jesus is like, we are all, like, we have peace with God because of what Jesus has accomplished for us on the cross through the empty tomb. We're forgiven, saved, set free. Nothing to fear in this relationship with God. We're at perfect peace. Therefore, go and make peace. Right? I mean, that's what all the Beatitudes are. Right? Every one of them is saying, when you are a follower of mine, go, and this is what your life should look like. So go and be these peacemakers.
Yeah, I like that. I think the imagery is neat too, thinking about like, I mean, in the Old Testament, right, the temple, that would have been kind of a place of peace, right, for the people. Yeah. That was up, in Jerusalem, but like Mount Zion, right, which I believe was like it was kind of like a coveted spot because it was high up, it was kind of protected. It was a bit of a refuge. But in the New Testament, like the temple now is ourselves. Yeah. Right? Like God's presence is not in the temple that was built in the Old Testament.
Made with hands, yeah.
Yeah, but God actually indwells with us. So we become, and I think of that song, Sanctuary. I don't know if they sing it at Camp Luther,
Yeah.
But that Lord prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. Yeah. And but that idea of sanctuary too, if you think, kind of like, I don't know, I mean, I'm thinking of like Hunchback of Notre Dame. I don't know what era that is. But people would like yell sanctuary for like, it was basically like you yell it when you're asking for some sort of like peace, or like you're seeking sanctuary, right? So you're seeking security or safety. At the beginning of the movie, like person runs like into some sort of worship space because she's being chased down by, I don't know, the local law enforcement. Yeah. So she tries to seek sanctuary. Yeah. But yeah, that idea of us being sanctuaries is exactly what you're talking about. Like, if Jesus is with me, if he is in me, if I have peace with God, then I'm like, God wants us to also be safe places for people. Yeah. And I think you kind of drew that out pretty well, like in your message, that like there's a lot of unsafe spaces. You know what I mean? It's not hard. You quoted Luther as well in your sermon. And I think he gets very like Luther's always very like hard nosed, but like about how often it's danger zone, in terms of your reputation or your just kind of peace that you might have like with other people.
Yeah. Well, that quote I shared, it was a snippet of a long section. It was from his commentary on the Beatitudes, and so. But yeah, like there was the one line where it's like, if there's a woman as attractive as the sun, but she has one little spot or blemish, it's as though you're supposed to ignore all that beauty and focus on the blemish and talk about it. He says, and I started thinking about that, like I don't know. I was thinking about like the celebrities, right? That are always in the media, and how people will just like pick up on the one thing, you know? I don't know, like,
Yeah.
not to name drop, but it's like, I don't know, Cindy Crawford. All I remember, like, she's got like a mole on her face or something, like, and I remember, like, that's always a thing. Or it's like, you know, President Trump, wild orange hair. You know, it's like all these little, there's these, what's it called? Caricatures, you know, of people where like the blemish is emphasized, and that becomes
the identity.
your identity and your character. And we do that to celebrity because they're like in the public spotlight, but I think we do it to other people very often. And that's why I gave that like simple little story in my sermon about, I don't know, I just made up two names, Susie and Phyllis,
Susie,
and some
right.
lady's got bangs or whatever. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's so, it's just human nature, I guess. Like because that kind of principle runs through lots of different areas where we tend to notice the negative or the imperfect, the blemishes, you know, the spots. I've heard it said, like, on a psychological front, like in relationships, you have to have like 6 positive interactions to override 1 negative interaction. Because those negative ones, just, we blow them up, they get emphasized.
And that's where I think that's why we need to be very conscious about this in the way that we speak, but even the way that we're thinking about other people. You know, because as soon as we put that negative spin on somebody else in our mind, we've kind of pigeonholed that person based on that blemish or that character flaw, like in our mind. So we almost have to reprogram that in our minds too, because of like, yeah, but they also have this beautiful quality, this, you know, personality trait that's a blessing. You know, maybe I don't understand it, but I can see why that is actually good and could be good for other people, and maybe actually good for me. You know, so like always, like, we talk about putting the best construction on things. Like, can we put the best construction on situations? Can we put the best construction on people?
Yeah.
Like, instead, I mean, and honestly, like, if you pay attention to the way that we think and the way that people speak about other people, there's a lot of not putting the best construction on people and situations in the way that we talk. I think people just delight in trashing people, you know?
Yeah, and it kind of, to use the castle imagery, you know, the piece that people may have, like, it's like catapulting, you know, rocks at it, like it's eroding, you know, their castles, it's eroding our relationship with them. I mean, it's kind of eroding us at the end of the day. Like, the more that we participate in it, the more that becomes habitual for us and how we look at all people in our life. You know.
Well, that's what I gave the imagery of the monster trucks too, because even like I was talking about, like, these monster trucks go and like smash the little cars, but all those giant monster trucks, like, at the end of the night, they've got pieces falling off of them too. You know, they may still be like the big ones still standing, but they look like they don't. Like, they're still affected by it.
Yeah, they didn't come out all shalom-like. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, and I think, you know, to get at that too is to, like, if we want to basically baptize our minds, you know, like, cleanse the way we look at people, cleanse the way we think, kind of reprogram, I think was the language you used. You know, I think that starts with going back to, okay, the first step in these Beatitudes with God, which is what's my relationship with Him, right? Like, what are the blemishes that I have, right? What are the imperfections in my life, you know, that I am aware of? And then how does God look at me? Because He doesn't look at those things, right? Scripture talks about our sin being removed as far as the east is from the west. You know, we have this concept of, like, the image of God. We're all made in the image of God.
Right.
And Jesus, you know, especially as followers of Jesus, He is constantly seeking to conform us more and more to His image, right? That we would look more and more like Jesus. And so, if I want to be a follower of Jesus, if I want to help others be conformed to his image. When I look at them, how can I draw that out? How can I encourage that growth?
Right.
Am I reminding them as much as I need reminding of my imagery in God's eyes? Am I reminding them of how they look in God's eyes?
Yeah.
Am I seeing them through the lens that Jesus sees them?
Yep.
And if not, I kind of have to go back to myself and get myself right.
Yeah. But and again, I mean, what you're drawing out is that we don't and we can't do this on our own. So it's not like we can't make peace on our own. Like this the peace that the way that the New Testament talks about the peace of Jesus is, I mean, Jesus says again in John 14 that his peace is not of this world. So it's an otherworldly kind of peace. I think we think of, I think in our lives, if we think of peace, we usually think of peace as like, I don't know, just not having to deal with any of the junk. It's just sort of like,
it's like a treaty, right? It's like, all right, we both agree not to kill each other.
Yeah. Even though we still hate each other, right? It's just like, I'm just gonna, not deal with you or only deal with you in the places that we agree.
Where we have
right?
to,
So that's kind of how we think about peace, but like the biblical concept of peace and what Jesus is providing with this otherworldly kind of peace is that it's something bigger, something more beautiful, more powerful. That shalom from the Old Testament is this wholeness between God and his creation and the creation in itself all perfectly put back together. So, and that's how Paul in Philippians describes Jesus' peace, is that it is peace that goes beyond our human understanding, right? So we can't even fully understand this kind of peace that Jesus gives to us. It goes beyond our understanding, but that is what we have. It's our standing before God. So we can't do this on our own. And so what we've received, though, then we have to go and try to offer to other people. And it's in your DNA as a child of God.
Yeah, you
like
mentioned that.
Yeah. Like, so I say you can't do it on your own, and you can't. But you can still bring peace because you have the capacity for it, because you're a child of God. So it's already in you. God says, "You're my child. I'm a peacemaker. Therefore, you have peacemaking capacity."
Yeah.
I like that. I mean, because otherwise, if it's like, Kevin, go make peace with all the people that you hate, it's like, I don't really want to, and I can't,
Yeah, right.
It's like, no, it's actually in you, like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I think we always return kind of back to the cross and back to, that power, I mean, really the power of Jesus, and it does comes in the cross, like that. That's the length that Jesus was willing to go to make peace between me and God. Like, that is the distance he was willing to go for me.
Yeah.
And if I, like, the more that I dwell on the more that I really take that into myself, that I believe and realize, holy cow, God, who created all things, who did everything, and I did nothing, and yet he went that distance for me. I mean, I think that's what empowers, me at least. It's like, how can I see what he has done for me and accept what he has done for me? And it does transform you. It can't not transform you as you take that in, right?
Right. Do you? I was like, not. Sorry. Just thinking about like just peace in general and peace in the world. I have the feeling that is a thing that everybody wants.
Oh yeah, that's what they say at the beauty pageants.
What do you mean?
Well, like those Miss America I've never seen one either. I don't think, unless it was in a movie, probably. But I think that's one of those like kind of trope things, right? Where it's like people go like, what If you could wish one thing for the world, what would you wish? World peace, right? But it's more than just, some kind of wishful I think, in general, people do have a deep longing for peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of unrest.
And so I think people want it, and so how have you seen people try to find peace if not in Jesus?
Yeah, I mean, usually what it seems like to me is I don't even know that it's a cognitive kind of hey, I am really needing peace. I want peace in my life, and so I'm going to go seek peace by doing this thing. I don't think it's necessarily that formed of a thought. I think usually what happens is we feel the unrest, we feel the unpeace. It's kind of like our base level, That's like the status quo, and as a result, we kind of gravitate towards all sorts of things to basically distract us from this unpeace that we have, this unrest that we have.
It's almost like fight or flight. You ever heard of that?
Oh yeah, when there's
if something comes at you, your natural instinct is to fight or to flight,
run away.
Yeah. And that's where I don't know. So I was just thinking practically about that, and I had that conversation with folks at Camp Luther too, and that's a lot of people are saying, I don't know, if I have an issue with you, I'll just cancel you out of my life. Unfriend you on Facebook, be done with you.
Spares my peace. Yeah. Kind of a thing, yeah.
And throw you out into the waves, There's that, and then there's I don't know, you already said, the numbing or the distracting, where it's it's too much. I
don't want to think about
it. Shut the door.
Yeah.
Cloister yourself. So that's where I think we got to get this distinction right of I'm at peace, and I can go and be a peacemaker as well, and the world needs me to be and to bring that otherworldly kind of peace of Jesus into this world, because all these other options are not solving anything. So it's a great. I mean, I love talking about peace. I love praying for peace. I desire to live as a peaceful person to the best of my ability, because I just think it's a beautiful way to live, and people are hungry and desperate for some kind of otherworldly peace. So those of you listening here today, our encouragement, I guess, is just put the best construction on things. Again, know that you're loved, know that you are forgiven, know that you're at peace with God, and then speak well of your neighbors. Try to find common ground, build up people's reputations, and I think you'll the more that you do that, you'll find that changes your mindset and changes the way that you go about the world, and so it's a beautiful way to live. I think that's why Jesus is telling us to do it.
Always. Yep. Always.
All right. Well, Kevin, as always, man, it's good to be here with you again. God's peace to you.
To you as well.